This is the Panasonic Lumix G7. With the little time I've spent with it, it has shown itself to be an incredible value for the price, just $500 at the time of filming. It's a mirrorless camera with 4K video, 16 megapixels, and it comes with a fantastic 14 to 42mm lens with OIS, with the choice to get another 42 to 140mm lens, along with a few extra accessories for only $100 more. For those who don't know what a mirrorless camera is, it's, well, a camera without a mirror. Traditional DSLR cameras reflect light from a mirror into the viewfinder so the photographer can see what they are shooting. However, mirrorless cameras forego this and take the light that they capture and send it directly into a small screen where the viewfinder would traditionally be. There are fewer moving parts, which means greater reliability and better durability. Also, mirrorless cameras tend to be smaller compared to the DSLR counterparts, from their body to their lenses. Side note, an interesting quirk about this camera is that there is a small proximity sensor on the eyepiece that detects how close your face is to it, so it automatically switches between the main screen and the viewfinder depending on how close you are to it. It's pretty cool. Alright, here are some quick specs for the G7. It has a 1200 mAh battery, up to 4K video at 30 frames per second, a 16 megapixel micro four thirds sensor, ISO 200 to 25600, a 2.4 million dot OLED viewfinder with a 10,000 to 1 contrast ratio, and a 3-inch 1 million dot touchscreen LCD main screen. Let's talk about that main screen first. It is capable of nearly full articulation, which would have been nice to have, but it's still very solid and doesn't feel cheap. It also has a great touchscreen, which is a great ease of use upside for me. The viewfinder is bounds ahead of my previous camera, the Nikon D5100, where I couldn't always be exactly sure that what I was seeing in the viewfinder was exactly what I was getting, and even less so with the main screen. The ones on the G7 are exceptionally accurate. Now, let's talk about the Micro Four Thirds system itself. It's basically just a mounting system for Panasonic's and Olympus's mirrorless cameras. This is what allows for the camera and its lenses to be so small. Here's the 42 to 140mm lens from the G7, sitting right next to my 18 to 55mm lens from my D5100. The size difference is just insane. Also, I believe it's named this way because the ratio of length to width on the sensor itself is 4 to 3. The videos that the G7 takes are quite good, much better than my current D5100, which tends to be a little bit grainy and requires a lot of light to look decent. I'd strongly recommend this to any beginner hobbyist looking to pick up a great bang for the buck camera. Two nitpicks I have to mention though are the iffy tracking autofocus on subjects other than faces and the 30-minute cap on continuous recording. But let's be honest, who's going to be doing multiple 30-minute takes? As for the autofocus, if you're doing primarily photos and videos of people, then it'll be fantastic, but otherwise it's kind of hit or miss depending on your situation, and you might need to do some manual adjusting there. It also has a built-in flash. The battery on this thing is pretty good. It has a capacity of 1200 mAh, and it's good for about 350 to 400 raw shots and a bit over an hour of continuous video. You might want to carry a second battery for all-day shoots. I/O on this thing is quite full. It's got a micro HDMI, not fantastic because it's an extremely fragile connector, mini USB 2.0, also somewhat outdated, a hot shoe connector for a flash, and it also has a microphone jack. Now that we've gone through all the major specs, let's go through some sample photos, which are absolutely amazing. Even though this camera only has 16 megapixels, they capture an astonishing amount of detail. As you can see in this shot, those thin tips of the tree branches are still extremely sharp. On these flowers, it softens up a bit and just gives much more vibrant colors. Just looking at it, I can almost feel the texture of those petals. Same thing with these photos of the marina with the sun setting. There is very little noticeable grain despite the small sensor and low light, and the warm colors of the light bands are almost perfect. In this next one, the reflections off the water are also surprisingly crisp. This next photo kind of blew me away. It is the most true-to-life photo I have ever taken. The light from the lamppost is localized only to the lamppost, and it isn't overblown at all. You get the great warm reflections on the branches surrounding the light source. However, this photo of my dog, I feel lost a lot of detail around the bokeh and left out a lot of the top of her hair, as well as the hair coming off of her ears, and it kind of just blended that into the background. Overall, I give this camera a 9 out of 10. It's the best camera I've ever used, and it's extremely well-rounded with only a few shortcomings. It's a fantastic value for only $500, and an even better one if you opt for the extra lens and extra accessories for only $100 more. That being said, this is going to be my new daily driver. I think it's time to retire the 9-year-old Nikon D5100. That's about it for this video, and be sure to subscribe for more TechConic coming your way shortly. Signing off for now, see you all in the next video. Here's a quick bonus for those who have stuck around to the end. First off, I'd like to thank you for doing that. It really means a lot to me. Secondly, did you notice I actually have not shown the G7 personally throughout the entire video? I've been recording with it the entire time.